Have you ever felt like the kinder you are, the less people seem to respect you? Like the more you try to be nice, the more others ignore you, test you, even use you? Maybe you can't fully explain it, but you feel it in your body, in the tension when you bite your tongue instead of speaking up, in the weight of being unheard, in the frustration of watching cold, manipulative, even outright cruel people being respected while you, who just wanted peace, get pushed aside. If this hits home, I want you to know something. It's not just in your head. There's a reason this happens, a pattern. And while it might be uncomfortable to hear, it's important, because when you understand it, you can finally stop being invisible and start getting the respect you deserve. Over 500 years ago, a man named Machiavelli wrote a line that still shakes people today. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. And yeah, I know, it sounds cold, but stay with me, because Machiavelli wasn't promoting cruelty for fun. He was observing something very real about human nature. The truth is, the world doesn't respond to kindness alone. Not because people are evil, but because the human brain is wired to recognize strength. We don't just admire good intentions, we react to boundaries. We respond to people who carry themselves like they know their worth. People who say, "Not with me." Here's the hard pill to swallow. Being good isn't enough. Being kind without showing strength is like bleeding in the ocean. Eventually, the sharks will come. And maybe that's where you are right now. Tired, burnt out, wondering why people don't seem to take you seriously, why you're always the one giving more, why you feel like you're in the background of your own life. You've probably asked yourself, how do I get people to respect me without turning into someone I hate? Or how do I stand strong without losing the part of me that just wants to be kind and fair? That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Because here's the reality most people avoid. People don't respect kindness by itself. They respect what it represents when it's backed by authority, boundaries, and strength. We were taught that being kind means being liked, that if you treat people well, help when you can, avoid conflict, and sacrifice for others, you'll be valued, that the world will return that energy to you. But the real world doesn't work like that. Respect doesn't come from good intentions, it comes from the perception of authority. And authority is built on how you carry yourself, your tone, your presence, your willingness to set limits, and yes, sometimes, on a subtle level, through a bit of healthy fear. Psychology backs this up. People pay attention to what they fear losing. When someone sets clear boundaries, speaks with conviction, and walks away from toxic situations without hesitation, it sends a very clear message: don't mess with me. The human brain sees this as a warning sign, like an electric fence around your self-worth. People don't want to test it. Now let's flip the script. Think about the people who say yes when they want to say no, who over-explain themselves, who smile to avoid conflict, who stay quiet to keep the peace. To an outside observer, that doesn't read as peace, it reads as permission. And when someone gives too much permission, you better believe abuse will follow. That's where fear and respect get linked, not in cruelty, but in boundaries. And let's be clear, this isn't about yelling, threatening, or being aggressive. That's not strength. That's fear disguised as power. Real strength, though, that's self-control. It's being able to hold silence with authority, to say no without your voice shaking, to look someone in the eye and stand firm even when it's uncomfortable. Machiavelli didn't say rulers should be cruel for the sake of it. What he warned us about was this: people forget favors fast, but they never forget the person who made them think twice about crossing a line. And this isn't just about kings and politics. It applies to you, your job, your relationships, your daily life. If you don't understand this, you'll spend your life trying to be liked, but you'll never be taken seriously. Now, you might be asking, so does that mean being good is a weakness? Not exactly, but here's where it gets complicated. This is the dilemma of kindness. The line between genuine goodness and self-abandonment is razor thin. When your kindness comes at the cost of your self-respect, when it becomes a shield for fear, you stop being kind and start being used. Many people are stuck in this exact trap. You want to do the right thing. You want to treat people with empathy. You want to help. But somewhere along the way, that turned into giving up your needs, your voice, your time, even your dignity for people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. And it hurts because you start asking yourself, is something wrong with me? Am I too nice? If I stop being this way, am I betraying who I am? That inner conflict between wanting to be good and feeling like you're getting walked on is what breaks people. It's what keeps you in relationships that drain you, jobs that underpay you, friendships that take and take and take. And the worst part? You think hardening up means becoming someone cold and cruel. So you stay soft, silent, and scared, trapped in a role of emotional servanthood. But here's the truth no one ever taught you. There is no real kindness without strength. If your kindness doesn't protect itself, if it doesn't set boundaries, if it can't say enough when you're being disrespected, it's not kindness, it's naivety. It's emotional self-neglect. Psychologists call this self-abandonment, when you constantly put others first, not out of love, but out of fear. You start chasing validation. You start bending to keep the peace. You forgive people who haven't changed. You confuse being the bigger person with never taking up space. And what's the cost? Not only do others stop respecting you, you stop respecting you. You look in the mirror and don't see someone kind. You see someone tired, resentful, and invisible. So what's the solution? It's not to stop being good, but it is to stop being good without wisdom, because that's the quickest way to lose yourself. That's what Machiavelli was trying to tell us, not to be ruthless, but to understand the truth of how humans work. People respect what they fear to lose, and unless you show them that you can walk away, that you will defend your dignity, they will keep pushing. So the real question is, how do you show that strength? How do you walk that tightrope, being respected without becoming what you hate? That's what we're diving into next, because if you've ever asked yourself why you're treated like a doormat, even though you've done nothing but give, the answer is about to become very clear. Stay with me, because what comes next might just shift the way you see yourself and the way others see you for good. Let's go deeper. Because once you understand that being kind isn't enough, once you really see how people respect strength over submission, the next question is this: how do I actually change? How do I go from being that person who's always overlooked, always the one giving in, to someone who naturally commands respect, without shouting, without games, without turning into someone I despise? To answer that, we need to shift our focus from other people to you. Because the real transformation doesn't happen by changing how others treat you. It happens when you change what you allow. Let me put it straight. If deep down you still fear disappointing others, if you worry about being judged for setting boundaries, if you think that saying no makes you selfish, then no strategy, no quote, no tough talk is going to change anything. The problem isn't just in how people see you.
The root of it is inside you. See, a lot of people, maybe even you, were raised to believe that being loved means being agreeable, that to be accepted, you had to be easygoing, always helpful, never say no. You might have learned this in subtle ways growing up, getting praise for being such a good kid or avoiding punishment by staying quiet. Over time, you started linking kindness with safety. But that's not kindness, that's conditioning. And the result?
Adults who keep bending over backwards just to be liked. Adults who stay silent just to keep the peace. Adults who accept less than they deserve because they're afraid that standing up for themselves will make them lose love. Let me say this clearly. That's not virtue. That's fear. It's a kind of psychological poison, a script running in the background of your mind, telling you that conflict is dangerous, that your voice is too loud, that your needs are too much. And it's not your fault that script is there, but it is your responsibility to rewrite it. Because every time you say yes when you want to say no, you send the world a message: my needs don't matter. Every time you avoid conflict, you allow injustice to breathe. Every time you forgive someone who hasn't changed, you reward bad behavior. You teach people how to treat you, not with words, but with patterns. And here's the thing, the world doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you tolerate. So, if you want to be respected, it has to start from within. You have to build internal strength, emotional sovereignty, because there's no external authority without inner conviction. Nobody's going to believe in your boundaries if you're constantly doubting yourself. Nobody's going to treat you like you matter if you don't carry yourself like someone who matters.
So how do you build that internal foundation? You start small. You pay attention to the moments you shrink. When do you silence yourself out of fear? When do you water down your truth just to make someone else comfortable? Who do you feel the need to impress, to appease, to over-explain yourself to? Those are the cracks where your power is leaking out. Your job isn't to get angry about it, it's to observe. Then shift, one decision at a time. Because here's the truth. When you start standing up for yourself, people will notice, and some of them won't like it. They'll say, "You've changed." They'll call you cold, rude, distant. But that's not about you. That's about them realizing they can't control you anymore. And guess what? That's a good thing. Because the people who are bothered by your boundaries, they were benefiting from your lack of them. Yes, you will lose some people when you stop being overly agreeable, but you'll lose the right people, the ones who only stuck around because you made life easier for them. And what you gain is priceless. You gain your energy back. You gain self-respect. You gain relationships that are actually mutual, not one-sided. You stop begging for love and start attracting respect. Why? Because now you're not so easy to access. And in human psychology, what's not easily available automatically becomes more valued.
But let me be clear, this isn't about playing hard to get. This isn't about faking confidence or manipulating anyone. It's about aligning with your truth. When you do that, people feel it. Your presence changes. Your posture changes. Your energy doesn't need to prove itself. And that's when everything shifts. You go from trying to be loved to demanding to be respected. Not through anger, not through fear, but through unshakable self-ownership. And this is where Machiavelli comes back in. Because what he understood, what most people still avoid, is that power isn't about domination, it's about clarity. Knowing how people really behave, not how we wish they would, and playing the game with your eyes wide open. He saw that love from others is fleeting, it's fragile, it's based on conditions. But fear, when it's used wisely, that builds boundaries. Fear, when it's subtle, measured, and paired with fairness, prevents people from trying to exploit you in the first place. Let's be real. People love you when you make them feel good, but the second you say no, the second you stop being useful to them, that love can disappear. That's why Machiavelli said it's safer to be feared than loved, because fear, when balanced, creates respect. And respect is what stops people from treating you poorly. It's not about being scary. It's about being someone others don't want to lose or cross. And here's the kicker. If someone's only nice to you when you're giving them what they want, that's not love anyway. That's convenience.
So what does this look like in your everyday life? It's not some dramatic transformation. It's in the way you say no without guilt. It's in walking away from conversations that drain you without explaining yourself. It's in setting boundaries and not wavering, even when people push back. It's in deciding your peace is more important than someone else's approval. That's where authority starts, not on a throne, but in your daily posture. And psychology supports this too. Studies show that people who carry quiet confidence, those who don't argue, don't explain themselves excessively, don't seek constant reassurance, are often respected more. It's called latent power. It's power that's felt, not flaunted. It's the kind of presence where people think twice before disrespecting you, not because you threaten them, but because your energy says, "I know my worth. Don't test me." That's the secret to being feared without being hated. You don't need to control anyone. You need to control yourself. Your reactions, your tone, your boundaries. That's what creates presence. That's what builds authority. That's what earns real respect. And if you're thinking, but what if I do all that and people still treat me poorly? Then, in part 3, we're going to go even deeper. Because at that point, we're not just talking about behavior, we're talking about emotional programming. The patterns, fears, and beliefs you picked up over time that have shaped how much space you feel allowed to take up in this world. You ready? Then let's keep going.
So you've started to see the truth. Kindness without strength leads to pain. You're learning how boundaries, clarity, and emotional control create respect. And now you're thinking, all right, I'm ready to change. But here's the thing. Even when you understand all this on a logical level, there might still be something stopping you, something deeper, something inside you that hesitates to fully stand up, that flinches when you say no, that second-guesses itself after setting a boundary. That's what we need to talk about now, because this is the part that most people skip. But it's everything. If you still find yourself people-pleasing, if you still feel guilty for putting yourself first, if your voice shakes when you try to assert yourself, it's not because you're weak, it's because your mind and your emotional history is wired that way. Let's go back a bit. Somewhere along the line, you learned that being accepted meant being agreeable, that love had conditions, that being liked meant you had to shrink, smile, sacrifice. For some, this came from family. For others, from school, religion, or culture. Maybe you were praised for being easy. Maybe you were punished, directly or subtly, when you pushed back. And what happens when you learn that being your full, honest self is dangerous? You start editing yourself to survive. You become smaller to stay safe. You trade authenticity for approval. Psychologists call this fawning, a trauma response where you abandon your own needs to avoid conflict or rejection. It's not just a habit, it's a survival mechanism, and it's powerful. But here's the problem. What helped you survive as a child will destroy your peace as an adult. That fear of being too much, it keeps you from being heard. That guilt for saying no, it keeps you overcommitted and underappreciated. That need to explain everything, It keeps you stuck in relationships where respect is never mutual.
So if you truly want to become someone who commands respect, someone who doesn't have to demand attention because your presence naturally gets it, then you have to face these patterns head on. You have to stop waiting for permission to take up space. You have to stop asking yourself, will they still like me if I speak up? And start asking, will I still like myself if I stay silent? This is the work, the real work. It's not just about changing how you talk or walk. It's about rewriting the emotional script that says you're only worthy when you're convenient for others. Because when you unlearn that, when you finally decide that you're done being available for disrespect, everything shifts. Your energy changes, your presence sharpens. You stop trying to win people over. You start choosing who deserves access to you. And yes, some people will fall away, but that's a gift. Because those people, they weren't with you. They were with the version of you that didn't say no, that tolerated too much, that feared being alone more than being disrespected. You'll lose fake connections, but you'll gain something far more valuable: peace, power, self-respect, and relationships that are actually mutual. You'll stop attracting people who want to control you and start attracting people who respect you because they see you respect yourself. That's the game changer.
But even with all this, there's one final question that always lingers. How do I stay strong without becoming cold? Because that's the fear, right? You don't want to turn into someone bitter, someone guarded, someone who shuts people out completely. And the answer is this: you don't have to stop being kind. You just have to stop being available to people who exploit it. Being kind isn't the problem. Being kind without discernment is. You can still be generous, but now you'll be generous by choice, not compulsion. You can still forgive, but now you'll forgive with wisdom, not naivety. You can still love, but now you'll love with boundaries, not blind devotion. And that's what real strength looks like. It's quiet. It's centered. It doesn't need to prove anything. It just is. You'll know you're truly stepping into your power when you can look someone dead in the eye and say, "Not with me, not anymore," without yelling, without defending, without flinching. And here's what Machiavelli understood centuries ago that still applies today. People respect those who can walk away. People listen to those who don't overshare, over-explain, or overextend. People fear, not in a toxic way, but in a respectful way, the ones who set invisible walls through their energy, their silence, their certainty.
Because that's real power. It's not in domination. It's in emotional sovereignty. It's knowing who you are, what you'll tolerate, what you won't. And from the moment you stop begging to be liked and start demanding to be respected, you'll stop being underestimated ever again. So ask yourself honestly right now, where in your life do you need to assert yourself? Where are you still being too soft, too quiet, too passive? Is it at work? In your relationship? In your family? Be real with yourself, because the moment you identify it, you gain the power to change it. You can't shift what you won't name. And if this message is hitting something deep inside you, if you're realizing you've been giving your power away for years, it's not too late. This is the beginning, not the end. This is your wake-up call to rebuild your identity, one boundary at a time, one choice at a time, one no at a time. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to become fully you, unfiltered, unshaken, and undeniable. This is your life, your space, your voice. Claim it. And if this video sparked something inside you, don't stop here. The next one is just as important, because understanding respect is just the start.
Now it's time to learn how to embody it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.